In this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up an entire end-to-end lead generation campaign with one software in a matter of minutes. And if you stick around until the end, I'm going to give you our proprietary framework that we use internally with our thousands of clients that helps us make decisions after we've launched the lead generation campaign. Like, what campaigns do we kill? What campaigns do we keep? What metrics to look out for? What to fix if something is broken? And how to properly scale a successful lead generation campaign. After you're done watching the video, if you want the written step-by-step guide, the link in the description will give you that. Step number one is to sign up for Apollo.io. I have sent hundreds of thousands of emails using dozens of different softwares, and I can safely say that this one is the best one on the market currently. Most notably because it allows you to do everything inside one software, and I'm a big fan of simplicity. So inside of Apollo.io, not only can you get hyper specific with who you're scraping and who you're targeting for your emails, you can also verify those emails. Then you can create an email sequence that you can add those qualified emails to in order to get automated messages for you to respond back. And also they have a few awesome features like email warm-up capability, as well as data analytics to let you know what's working and what's not. Another reason that I love Apollo.io is that they have a free option here, which I know is important to a lot of people watching this video. What I do recommend, however, is once you do close your first deal from using this strategy I'm talking about in this video, then you'd want to upgrade to the basic plan, because the basic plan has a few things that the free plan does not. Most notably for me, it's the ability to select over 1,000 records at one time. Now that might seem like a little technical, Ravi. Why do I care about selecting records? Well, because when I dive here in a moment and show you how we get these hyper qualified lists of people, well, you're going to want to just send them directly from this search feature into your email campaign. But if you can't select 1,000 at a time, then you're slowly manually selecting one by one by one by one at a time. And actually, I personally right now have an organizational plan with them, so I can select up to 10,000 records at a time because we're using this so much, and I just got tired of even doing it just by the thousands. And then after you've signed up for the basic plan and you sign another 1 or 2 clients, I actually recommend you upgrade again to the professional plan, because what's happens in the professional plan is that you can have more than one email mailbox. Now, in a minute, I'm going to cover why that's incredibly important, but the short of it is that once you do start closing deals, you're going to want to do what everybody wants to do, which is send more emails so you can get more leads, get on more calls, and close more deals. But you can't do that because most email companies or email servers have a limit of how many emails you can send a day. As soon as you sign up and connect your email account, you're going to be dumped out on the dashboard page right here. But before we start, getting our leads and sending, we want to make a few changes that I actually haven't covered in some previous videos. So if we go to the little settings icon here and then click on manage mailboxes, you can see that I already have 2 mailboxes linked. I'm going to talk about that second mailbox here in a moment, but let's just imagine that you have one mailbox linked here. So we're actually going to click on your mailbox settings. You're going to make sure your email sent per day is 200, your email sent per hour is 40, and your delay between emails sent in seconds is 30. And this is kind of what I've learned to be almost the upper ends of what you can push without getting in trouble and getting your emails landed into spam. But what is the most important thing is something I've never covered before, because they recently came out with a beta feature, which is the email mailbox warm-up feature. Now, if you've been in the email marketing campaign and game for long, then you probably know what email warm-up is. But if you haven't, let me break it down for you really quickly. Email service providers like Gmail, Yahoo, and Hotmail want to make sure they protect their users from spam. So they have automated spam filters that they set up inside of their servers that detects when somebody could be sending spam to their users' email inboxes. An example of this is if you said something like, "I'm a Nigerian prince, and if you give me $1 million, I'll bless you and your land," right? They're probably going to put that in the spam folder. But what a lot of people don't realize is that there are some other implicit ways that you can signal to these email service providers that you are potential spamming people. And one of them is by creating a brand new email account and then immediately start sending 200, 300 emails a day to people who aren't really opening or responding back, which is the case anytime you do a cold email campaign. So what email warm-up inboxes do is that they create these kind of fake alias automated email inboxes that have been shown to be trustworthy to the email service providers. And then you send emails from your email to those trusted emails. They open them and then they send an email back to you and respond. And they kind of have a conversation back and forth. And what it makes it seem like is that you're having real conversations with real people who are eager and excited to open your emails and respond back to them. Now, of course, the nice thing with software is that this happens all behind the scenes. And that's what a really good email warm-up inbox software does. So my recommendation here is to turn on this mailbox warm-up. Now, I know it's in beta phase, but I haven't heard one person tell me that they haven't gotten access to it. And then when you turn it on, you're going to want to come down here and check the daily maximum of warm-up emails to 50, the daily warm-up goal of 10, and the daily ramp-up increments of 2. And the final piece before we move on to the next stage here is the email signature. Now, whenever you are first attaching your email to Apollo.io, it's just going to give you this really basic email signature that I think just says like your name or something around that, which is not bad. But if you're sending cold emails inside the United States, there are a few things you need to do to stay compliant when you're sending those emails, as well as a few things that I think makes you look a little bit more professional. So for me, for example, you see I have my first and last name. I have CEO at the company name. I have our little tagline for our business right here. I actually have the ability for them to book a call to speak with our team immediately if they just want to do it in any email that I'm sending. I put our website there, and I spend some time making our website valuable and professional. I don't think you should do that right from the beginning, but it is helpful if somebody's like, who's this person that's emailing me? They click it and they don't just see like a page that was created in 30 seconds. They see something that has a lot of content and, more importantly, a lot of assets. Like on our website, we have thousands of case studies and testimonials and client wins on there. And so they can check that out and see that we're legitimate. And then in the United States, you do have to legally have a business address in there in order to stay compliant with email sending laws. Now let's move on to step 2. But before I tell you that, let me ask you a question. Imagine you just bought a brand new Ferrari and you are so eager to take it out and rip it on the interstate. And as soon as you get on the interstate, you just absolutely gas it and it's accelerating, and then it just stops at 15 miles per hour. And no matter how much you push your pedal to the metal, it does not go past 15 miles per hour. How disappointed are you? And what if you didn't even know that that thing would stop at 15 miles per hour before you bought the Ferrari? And so you're all excited, things are going great, and then you hit that governor and you're not able to go past 15 miles per hour. Well, a lot of people don't realize this, but after working with literally thousands of businesses, I have learned that the same thing happens when you are launching and scaling successful lead generation campaigns. Whether it's on YouTube ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, cold emailing, cold LinkedIn messaging, most people are just trying to figure out, how do I get my first booked call, or how do I just get it to barely work so that I know that I can move forward, which is fine. But what they're not thinking is a few steps ahead, which, okay, once it is working, how do I scale it? How do I get more volume so I can increase the amount of calls and sales that I'm taking per day? But fear not, ladies and gentlemen, because that is what I'm going to tell you here. So for step number 2, what we're going to want to do is create new email accounts. Okay, so this is a little bit more advanced, but I can tell you it will pay dividends in the future. And if you look on my mailboxes here inside of Apollo.io, I have Ravi at scalingwithsystems.com, which is my main email domain, but I also have Ravi Abuvala at scalingwithsystems.com, which I personally never check that email account. But why do I have it in the first place then? Well, because if you look at the daily limit here, on one email account, I have 200 emails. So let's say, for example, that 2% of the emails that you send a day end up in booked calls. Well, at a 200 email limit, that's roughly 4 booked calls a day that you're getting. Well, that's really great, but 4 booked calls is not going to build you a large enough business for most people. So what if I wanted to double it? What if I wanted 8 booked calls a day? Well, in order to do that, you need to send 400 emails a day. But in order to stay away from landing in spam and getting in trouble with these email service providers, you'll want to create a separate email account. So now you can see on mine, I have 2 different email accounts here, each sending 200 a day, which puts me at that 400 a day mark. If you do have Google Workspace, all you do is go to admin.google.com. You're going to want to click manage underneath users, and then you're going to want to click add new user right here. And you can just type in your first and last name. I do the exact same one as I did before. And then you have dozens of different variations. You could do rabuvala@scalingwithsystems.com, Ravi Abuvala at scalingwithsystems.com, Abuvala R at scalingwithsystems.com, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea, but you're going to want to create something that's close enough to your original email that somebody thinks it's legitimately your main email inbox, and they're more likely to respond. Now, as a quick bonus tip, if you are advanced enough, you can create these email accounts under a different domain. So this is what we'll do for a lot of our clients as well, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to burn your email domain. And what that means is that no matter how much email warm-up inbox you do, no matter how safe you are with the words that you say, you are still sending literally hundreds, if not thousands of emails a day to people who frankly don't really want to receive them. And so in order to protect your email deliverability, so that let's say whenever I'm emailing an important proposal out to somebody, or I'm emailing a vendor, or I'm emailing my mom, I can make sure that that email gets delivered inside of there and I'm not jeopardizing my main email account. And one of the best ways you can do that is setting up a different email domain. And we've actually done the exact same thing. So our company name is scalingwithsystems.com, but where we host all of our funnels and where we do all of our cold emailing is scalingwsystems.com. So it's essentially the same thing. I obviously just shortened the word with, and because I have that, I have this extra domain I can kind of play around with without jeopardizing our main domain. And of course, once you did sync your domain, you can come down here to the mailbox settings, make sure that your email sending per hour, per day, and delay between is all set up correctly. And of course, make sure that you turn on that email warm-up inbox and change your email signature. Step number 3 is going to be to create our email sequence. So what an email sequence is essentially what emails we're going to be sending the leads once we find the qualified ones in the next step. And so I like to do this step first because it typically takes the most time. And so I want to get it out of the way. So that way, whenever I am looking for leads, I can spend a lot of time getting more qualified leads and then just one click adding them to the campaign and having them be sent out immediately. So back on the dashboards page here, we're going to click on engage and go down to sequences. We're going to click on new sequence right here, and you're going to want to click from scratch. You can name the campaign anything. So I'm going to call it real estate agent campaign. And then your normal business hours is totally fine. And if you come down to the advanced settings here, you can leave those as defaults. We'll click on create, and then we're going to scroll down and click on add a step. And this is where you can add a sequence step inside of your campaign. Now, there are a few different ones inside of here, but just to be respectful of your time, I'm going to tell you the only one that I use and the only one I think that you should use, which is automatic email. And I always like to add a little bit of a delay after the contact is added. So I'm going to change this to 10 minutes. And the reason for that is because I've actually made this mistake before where I had selected 10,000 records of one email campaign and I added it to the wrong sequence. And I had it immediately send whenever somebody was added to a sequence. And so all of those emails started getting sent out and people were like, this isn't me. Why are you sending this message? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is kind of a little bit like a safety feature, if you will, to prevent you from making some kind of mistake. So I'm going to click on 10 minutes after the contact is added, and then it brings you to the edit template here. Now, I know what you're thinking. You look at this blank screen here and you go, what am I going to do? It's yelling at me. It's screaming at me. Write on me. Why don't you write this amazing email that everybody responds back to? Well, don't worry. Fear not, my friends, because Ravi Abuvala of Scaling with Systems has your back. And that's why I'm going to give you our $10 million cold email template. I'm going to go to the Google document that you guys can get your hands on down below, and I'm going to copy over the subject line first. So let me copy this. We're going to go back over to the real estate agent campaign. And then I'm going to copy over as well the body of the message. I'm going to break this all down for you in just one moment as well. Okay, so let's copy this back over. And let's get started. So this is the initial message. So we're not going to reply to a previous thread. That is important to do in the follow-ups, which I'll get here in a moment. But for now, we're just going to leave alone. As far as the subject line is concerned, I have dozens of videos where I go incredibly in depth. I have a separate video where I break down this entire email template. But just to keep it simple, most people's subject lines suck. And you want to make yours interesting enough for somebody to open. Because if they're not going to open it, then they're not going to read it. If they're not going to read it, they're not going to respond. If they're not going to respond, they're not going to get on a call with you. If they're not going to get on a call with you, they're not going to close. So this is the one bottleneck that most people mess up. Okay, so think of it like as the lead, the hook in your YouTube video or something along those lines. And people also try to make it too complicated. I like to keep it very simple. So I'm just going to call it question about company, right? And I just put company in caps here. But another great thing about Apollo.io is they do have what are known as dynamic variables. So if you come down here and click these little brackets, you can see there's all these dynamic variables that you can choose to send somebody from the information that Apollo.io has on them already. So I can click on company, and now whenever somebody we're sending an email to them, it's actually going to populate and say question about Google or whatever company that they would have. And then I like to put a ... because that's a little bit of a teaser, curiosity driver, and boom, if you got an email, like for example, if I got an email and it said question about scaling with systems, I might open it because I think it's somebody that maybe wants to work with me or somebody that has a question about how we do things, etc., etc. The next area that most people drop the ball on is they think, oh great, I have an interesting subject line, I'm good to go. But a lot of people don't realize is that there is something called the pre-header text or the introduction to an email, and that is what shows up before you open the email. It's like those first 10 to 14 words that appear after the subject line. And so most people think that they can just type in like, hi, I want you to buy my stuff, and that they're going to read that because it's the first line of text inside the email when they open the email. But actually, they're going to read it before they open the email. So you want to add something that is kind of a complement to the subject line and still piques that curiosity. So question about company name, I might say something along the lines of, I came across, and let me put company inside of here, company, on, let's just say I'm going to do on Zillow if I'm reaching out to real estate agents, and I wanted to reach out, ... Right? So now if somebody were to get this email, they have question about, Sarah's real estate agency. And then she's going to come down here and see, I came across Sarah's real estate agency on Zillow and I wanted to reach out. So if you're a real estate agent, then you might think, wow, like this person might want to work with me or there's something going on. And so you're going to have a much higher chance of having somebody open your email. Then underneath that, you're going to have what I call your transformational statement. I'm not going to get too in depth with this right now because I have dozens of videos that go over, how to build a world-class offer. But in essence, you pretty much just want to say, come out with a left hook and be like, look, I can help you do this, period. What a lot of people mess up on cold email is that they might come in and try to say, how's the weather? How's your kids? How's your back doing? But in reality, you have about 30 seconds, probably not even that, probably like 8 seconds to get somebody to make a decision if they want to continue reading their email or not. And that's why I want to give you the number one lesson I've learned in copywriting right now. And that is copywriting is getting someone's permission to read the next line. So don't save all of your best stuff for the bottom. Don't save your call to action for the bottom. Don't try to lead in with this clever stuff. Every single word matters. Every single sentence matters, and every single line matters. So for that reason, I'm going to come out and just say what I do in hopes that this person would resonate with it. So I'm going to say, I help real estate agents generate 2 to 3 additional closings or their money back. It's a simple one that I can do here. So that works for me. And then the risk reversal is always, whenever somebody's getting a cold email, the first thing they're going to think is like, I don't want to do this. This is scary. I don't want to invest money. I've been burned before. So I like to just reiterate the point that's money back. So that's right. If we're unable to generate you 2 to 3 closings, we will send you all of your money back. Boom, period. Then you would add social proof because now they're thinking, okay, it doesn't take anybody. Just this crazy guy on YouTube with this video, he's the one that's typing this email out. What makes him legitimate? Why should I trust him? Because these are big, bold claims. You're going to give me my money back? And this is where you would add social proof. And I might say something like, we've worked with over 300 agents in North America, including XYZ. So, you could say stuff like including Keller Williams, you could say including, the number 1 agent in America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you had a link to a case study, I might say something underneath that like how Bob generated 300,000 in GCI in 30 days. And then a link to the case study right there. If you don't know what GCI is, it's a real estate term, essentially talking about your commissions. And of course, if I say GCI, then they're going to know that I'm kind of in the know. I'm one of them. Ooh, gaga. And then we go to call to action right here. So underneath the call to action is going to be something very simple. So I typically say, just respond back with your best phone number or book a call here. And I like to hyperlink my booking link so that they don't have to kind of go through the process of like, oh, let me get your phone number, going back and forth 5 or 6 times, so they can just book on my calendar. That's even better. And then we'll add on the additional assets and resources. And so you might want to say like, check out our client wins here, check out this, XYZ. We'll say the call to action one more time if you wanted to. And then of course your signature. Now, the nice thing is about Apollo is if you look down here, this little checkbox, it says include signature. So it's already going to have the signature, so I can just erase that right now. Boom. And then if we look on the right side, it kind of shows you what the preview is. So question about Google. I came across Google on Zillow. I wanted to reach out. And then all of this looks really, really great. Okay. And the number one thing when you're creating a cold message is you want to make sure you always test it. Okay. I can't tell you how many things look great when I'm typing it in, but something weird happens. I put a period in one of these dynamic variables, and then it looks like it's a fake email or that I'm blasting it out to everybody else. And one thing I did kind of notice here is that you see this kind of weird gap right here in between where I put the call to action and my signature. That makes it look like it's kind of not written by hand. And so that's because there's a little space. So if I erase that, boom, now it looks even more legitimate. I know you're like, Ravi, that's kind of like a little bit getting into the weeds, don't you agree? But I'm telling you, I've sent tens of thousands of emails and this stuff matters, okay? Then we're going to come to the top right here and click on save. And we now have an email sequence. Now, in order to increase the efficiency of the email sequence, there's 2 additional things I recommend doing. Number 1 is to add an additional follow-up email. So we're going to click add a step. We're going to click automatic email. I'm going to do it 1 day after the previous step. And then for the template here, we're actually going to come back to our cold email template, and we're going to copy and paste the follow-up email that I already have for you guys inside of there. We're going to come back in here. We're going to click paste. Make sure you click on reply to the previous thread. That's incredibly important. Once again, it makes it look legitimate. And also, a big problem that I've noticed when people do email follow-ups is they restate everything all over again every single time. And what you want to do instead is you want to keep on replying to the same thread. And so that way they can read the whole thread, almost like a little bit of a sales page, if you will, or a video sales letter. They're like reading this entire thing, and it's kind of reminding them who you are. You've been trying them for a few times, and you don't have to put everything in one email, which once again is more likely going to have them not read the entire thing. So I might come here and say something as an introduction like, hey, first name, let's see here. Did you see the above? As a quick reminder, I help real estate agents generate 2 to 3 closings or their money back. Shoot me a text at blah, 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 right? Boom. Just like that, now we have a follow-up email. I'm going to look at this on the preview, make sure it all looks good, which it does. I'm going to click on save. And then the final piece that you can do in order to increase the efficiency is create an A/B split test. So if you don't know what A/B split tests are, I'm kind of a little bit of a nerd. It's actually one of our values at our company, but it essentially allows you to test 2 different messages at the exact same time. And I really like this because, I just gave you guys 1 email template, and that's worked with me and thousands of clients, but it may not work for you. Or you may want to think, hey, should I try this subject line or this opener or whatever else it is? And so with a A/B split test, you can actually come inside of here and create a totally different email, and then you can see which one produces the better results. Now, a word to the wise on split tests. This doesn't matter what platform you're doing split tests on. Try to minimize the amount of variables. What I mean by that is if you do a whole totally different email, you're not going to know what is the reason why that email performed or didn't perform. So for me, if I was going to run a split test on this, I might split test the subject line. I might split test just the first opener line. I might split test the transformation statement. I might split test the call to action. I might split test which case studies I use, right? These are all different split tests I would run individually. Then I would let them run and let them get, 300 to 500 email sends, and I would see which one was working, which one wasn't working, okay? So let me delete the split test here. And then the final step that is incredibly important that you do is you click this little toggle in the top right and you activate activate the sequence. And now we're ready for the next step, which is going to be to add the qualified leads to this sequence. Okay, so we're back on the dashboard here, and we're going to go underneath search and people. And this is one of the reasons why I love Apollo.io more than almost any other email sending software, is because if you've seen any of my old videos on like LinkedIn Sales Navigator, one of the reasons I've always loved doing prospecting and lead generation on LinkedIn is because LinkedIn Sales Navigator allows you to get incredibly specific with your filters. Well, now Apollo.io has the exact same thing, and it makes it much easier to scrape emails from there than LinkedIn Sales Navigator ever did. So on the left-hand side here, you can see where you can either search by people or companies. For this example here, I'm going to search by people. And then of course you have dozens of different filters you can use. Names, are they in the news, what their job titles are, what their company is, where they're located, number of employees, industries and keywords, if their email, what their email status is, how much revenue their company's doing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to give you an example. I think we're doing real estate agents here. So I'm going to come down here to job titles, and I'm going to say, is any of real estate agents? And let's click on that. And if I wanted to as well, I could say something like real estate broker, because I could probably help both of those. And then I might also add something like real estate team leader as well. Okay. So just on those three things, we're at 310,000 people. You could go even deeper in job titles. I'm not going to do that here, but I'm going to keep on moving forward here. So we're going to come down here. You also have the ability to do a Boolean search as well. So you could say, it contains real estate agent or real estate broker, but not commercial, right? Because you don't want to work with commercial real estate agents. So you can get really in depth with Boolean searches. And I actually have links to those videos inside the document that I'll send you guys a link in the description down below on how to do that specifically. Okay. And then if we scroll down here, the other thing that I like to do is I only work with clients in the United States for this make-believe company I have right here. So we're going to say the Americas, we'll just say North America, which is perfect because I can work with people in Canada. Number of employees, you can also say inside of here, hey, I only want to work with somebody who works at a company that has at least 11 to 20 employees. But also once you get above, let's say 100 employees, they probably have their own in-house marketing team and they're not going to want to work with me, right? And then the final thing that I think is important to do for every single qualified lead search that you do is make sure you just filter by verified, because the one downside I would say to Apollo.io is it will allow you to select all of these leads, which in this example here is 68,000. And then if you only have the ability to select 25 at a time on the free plan, or 1,000 at a time on the plan above the free plan, or 10,000 above that plan too, you're like copying and pasting multiple times, but you can only send emails to verified emails. So you might as well just filter out the verified emails in the beginning. And now we went from 60 something down to 26,000, which is a lot more manageable to deal with. And the final step in this step would be to select all of these contacts. I'm just going to say 10,000 because that's the maximum number that I can select for you, depending if you're on the free plan or the paid plan. It could be 25 or 1,000, but you can kind of see why it's beneficial to have the paid plan. Because imagine out of 26,000 people trying to do it 25 times, let's see, what is that divided by 25? You'd have to do this 1,000 times. So, is that worth $40 a month? I think it probably is. So I'm going to click on sequence. I'm going to click on add to existing sequence. And then I'm going to click on the real estate agent campaign. And if you have multiple emails, this is something that I didn't cover in one of my previous videos. You can actually auto assign the email, and it'll just kind of like round robin between each email. So one from Ravi@scalingsystems.com, one from Ravi Abubala@scalingsystems.com. So that's why the benefit of having 3, 5, 10, 15, even 20 emails I have some of our clients do, you could be sending literally thousands of emails a day. Now I'm going to turn that off because I don't have multiple emails. And then I'm going to click on save. And when I clicked on save, it would add it to the email sequences. And within 10 minutes, remember we added that delay, it's going to start sending in those email campaigns. And bada bing, bada boom, just like that, you are generating leads. Now, as a little additional bonus for those of you that have stuck around with me here, I do want to show you another really cool feature of Apollo.io. So actually, if we go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which I have dozens of videos on, one of my number one videos is on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and we click on lead filters, we now have access to tens of millions of additional contacts that Apollo.io doesn't necessarily have inside of their database. And we have access to filters that Apollo.io doesn't have on their database as well. For example, connections of. So if I wanted to send emails and I could only send 200 a day, I might want to start with people that have a first degree connection with me, because these are more likely to be people that are going to respond back to an email because they should recognize my name because they follow me on LinkedIn. And so if you want to, you can actually get the Apollo.io B2B Chrome extension. And I downloaded this. And then when I open up LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can see this little sidebar here. I can actually select all these people on this page, and then I can add them to the same email sequence that I was talking about previously. So almost the exact same thing inside of Apollo.io when we're scraping leads. We can do it inside of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, except for, like I said previously, you have additional filters there. So between what you have inside of Apollo.io and what you have inside of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you should have access to pretty much everybody in the world that could be your qualified prospect, specifically if you're in the B2B realm, and you can get hyper specific with the filters, so you're making sure you have the highest chance of getting a response, getting a call, and getting a sale. For our final step here, managing, iterating, and scaling campaigns, I want to walk you through exactly the framework that we use internally inside of our company and our thousands of clients that helps us know which ones to keep, which ones to kill, and which ones to scale. So there are a few different frameworks you should understand before I get into the actual management of an outbound campaign. Number one is you need to look at a 30,000 foot view. What is an outbound funnel? And this will help you make decisions. So in an outbound funnel, you have a few steps here. You have the audience, which is obviously who we are sending the messages to. So what we just covered, this could be scraped on Apollo.io. This could be scraped on LinkedIn Sales Navigator using Apollo's search Chrome extension. And it's also going to include the filters as well. So, we only want to work with real estate agents that have at least 10 employees, that have verified emails, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The more quality your audience, the more efficient your entire funnel is. Then the next step is going to be messaging. And that's what we covered in that $10 million email template. So this is going to be what these people we're sending the message to are reading. And this is the next important step, because if we get the most qualified people in the world, but we don't have really quality messaging, then they're not going to read it. Remember, copywriting is getting someone's permission to read the next line. And so we're going to put a lot of time and energy on the messaging to make sure that they respond back. And then they're going to give us our phone number, and they're going to book a discovery call. So once they book the discovery call, we're going to kind of pre-qualify them a little bit further, give them a little bit teaser of what our services and products are, and then finally go over to the demonstration call, which is when we pitch them on the company or the offer or the services. Now, I personally like doing a discovery call and a demonstration call, a 2-call close when you're doing outbound messaging, because a lot of people that you're bringing in from the cold messaging, you don't have a frame with. And I'm not going to go too in depth with what a frame is, but essentially, if you're saying, hey, you're a great fit for us, and the person gets on the call, you're having to sell so much, so hard, because, they don't really know anything about you and you came to them. And that's why I'm a huge fan of ads and inbound marketing, kind of like what I'm doing in this YouTube video here, because I have a frame. We get literally hundreds of organic leads into our company a day, and people are coming to us saying, hey, I'd like to learn more about you. And when that happens, they book on our calendar, then we have more of a frame. So we come from an authoritative position and we can say, hey, we can help you. You came to us, tell us your problems, right? So the nice thing about the discovery call and the demonstration call is that allows you to break up and create that frame. So the discovery call, you don't have any frame, but you can pre-qualify someone and then set yourself up for the frame on the demonstration call where you have a lot more power, okay? And then for the key performance indicators, these are kind of just a rough 30,000 foot view of the different steps and what you should be looking for. So first you send that outbound message. You should have about a 20 to 40% open rate or connection rate. And I say connection rate because this could also work for LinkedIn. Those that open the messaging, you want about a 5 to 10% booking rate. So that means that those that have seen the messaging, you want that messaging to be converting at 5 to 10% of people that respond back, give you their phone number, or book a call automatically on their own. And then from the people that book a call, you want about roughly 50 to 60% show up rate. Now, once again, the downside of outbound messaging is that 50 to 60% is pretty low. Our average in our company is right around 80%, but that's because we're not doing a whole lot of outbound anymore because we have a lot of inbound coming in. can. But for a lot of you, you're going to be needing to start with outbound. And so know that because you don't have that frame, because you came to them, a lot of them aren't going to show up to that first call, no matter how much you do. And then let's say you conduct that sales call. Of the people that get on the demonstration call with you, you're going to want to close around 20 to 40% of them. If you have too low of a close rate, then it's probably because you're going straight to the sales call and you're not having that discovery call in order to filter out the people that are unqualified. So now that you know all of that, let's talk about how do you actually manage an outbound campaign. This is what I talked about in the very beginning that I was going to share with you guys that I've actually never shared online publicly before. And this is kind of the framework that we use internally in our company. And you can get access to this in the description down below. So number one is you launch the outbound campaign. You want to make sure you're sending at least 250 outbound messages a day or somewhere around that number. 200 to 250 is totally fine. Then what we do is we wait 2 to 3 days and we're going to see if the open rate is greater than 20%. If the open rate is not greater than 20%, then what we need to do is actually kill the outbound campaign. As you can see right here, identify the bottleneck and iterate. And in this example here, the quality of the lead list, the strength of the subject line, the pre-header text all make an impact on this metric. So you want to look at all those 3 different things and say, okay, why is my open rate so low? Is it because I'm sending to unverified emails? Is it because my subject line is weak? Or is it because my pre-header text, I'm automatically selling somebody something when in reality I should be adding curiosity to whatever the subject line is? Then you come back and you would launch it again. But let's say that you do have a greater than a 20% subject line, then you're going to maintain the outbound campaign for a few more days. Then you're going to wait until you have about 300 unique views. And what I mean by a unique view is 300 people that have read the messaging. So if we go back to our outbound key performance indicator here, there's the open messaging step in the funnel right here. And this is not people that you sent emails to. And I see this all the time. People think they should get 5 to 10% of people that you send emails to book a call, but it doesn't matter how many emails you send, they have to read the email in order to book the call. So of the people that open the email, what I call a unique viewer, you want about 300 of them, and you want a positive reply or a booking rate greater than 10%. Now, inside of here, I say greater than 10%, even though back here I say 5 to 10% booking rate, because when you're first starting, you should have a higher percentage of people booking than you do when you're scaling. Because no matter what, in any platform, anything you're doing, as you do more of it, the efficiency goes down. So you want to make sure that in the beginning, you have a really high one. So that way, as we're scaling, it's going to lower back down and get closer to that 5% range, but that's still within KPI. If it's not greater than 10%, then we want to look at the messaging, the offer strength, your social presence online, or your assets online, because all of these impact this metric. So if somebody gets a cold email from you and they Google you and they can't find you anywhere, or they see your Instagram and it's you drinking beers with your friends and partying on the weekends, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, they're going to think, oh, this person doesn't take this seriously. Or if you don't write a good enough email copy, or if your offer strength's not good enough, you're just like, hey, I can help you be a better person, then likely you're not going to get a high enough response rate, right? Then you'd kill the campaign, you'd go back to the beginning, you'd relaunch it, and you'd try again. And then what we need to look at is qualified leads, conversions, or calls. So if we are getting responses and we are getting on calls, the next step is the quality of the calls. And this is honestly what separates us from a lot of other people inside of our industry. Is a lot of the people just get you leads or calls. They just try as much as possible to force down your throat more leads and calls. But at Scaling with Systems, we focus on quality over quantity. So I know that it's much easier to scale a company with less people, and it's easier to have less people when you have less volume, and it's easier to have less volume when all the volume you have is incredibly quality. So instead of having 100 leads come in and 5 of them are qualified, you're having 20 leads come in and 15 of them are qualified. So a big difference. So we want to make sure that we're getting qualified leads, conversations, or calls. And the biggest thing that I've noticed that impacts this list, this metric here, is the quality of the lead list. Remember what we talked about earlier in Apollo.io and LinkedIn Sales Navigator. How quality is that list that we're scraping from? If you're just sending an email to every single person that has a pulse, then you're likely to get a very unqualified lead list, right? If it's not qualified leads or calls, then you're going to kill the campaign and go back to the beginning. But then finally, let's say that it is, so you are getting a high open rate, you are getting a high response rate, and you are getting quality leads and calls, and this is where we would put this thing in overdrive. This is where you would remove that governor of 15 miles per hour on that brand new Ferrari you bought, and you would just rip it down the highway. way. Okay, this is where you add the additional email accounts, you'd add the additional LinkedIn accounts, and you start sending 500, 750, 1,000. I have some clients sending 3,000 to 5,000 emails a day because what we did from the very beginning worked well, and this entire time their emails have been warmed up over and over and over again. If you want an entire breakdown of our $10 million cold email template, make sure you check out this video here.